Up first this evening, the government is taking the banking industry to task after this week's announcement of increases to some bank fees. Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke commented on the issue at the Jamaica Stock Exchange's 17th Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference. Now our business reporter Javon Keys has been monitoring the conference.
Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, banking as we know it has changed. Customers have been forced to do less transactions in branch and engage more with the online platforms and automated banking machines. This has now come at a higher cost, with both the National Commercial Bank and Scotiabank announcing increases in banking fees. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke expressed dissatisfaction with the bank's decision.
When it comes to the setting of bank fees, it would seem as if our commercial banks are tone deaf.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness also had an issue.
Children are now going back to school, so fees are now coming back in. Bus fares and lunch money have to be paid. And then they have to now hear about increases in bank fees. I am not here appealing to your conscience. It makes good business sense to protect the people of the country.
Dr. Clarke says while he understands that banks are faced with rising costs, it's important that they consider their stakeholders, especially the vulnerable.
Now, I believe in dialogue. And so I have called the banks in. I have spoken to them. And I expect them to be responsive.
Javon Keys, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the opposition is describing as a weird twist of events calls by the Jamaica Labour Party for government intervention in the banking fees hike saga. This particularly given that opposition MPs voted against a bill to amend the Banking Services Act. Jamila Maitland reports.
There's been widespread outrage about the recent announcement of a fee hike by the National Commercial Bank and Scotiabank. But when the Jamaica Labour Party issued a release urging the government, which is led by the JLP leader Andrew Holness, to engage the bank about the fees, that ignited even more discussions on social media. People's National Party Member of Parliament for South St. Catherine, Fitz Jackson, who piloted a private member's motion for amendments to be made to the Banking Services Act to regulate increases, says he too was surprised by the release, given that the JLP MPs voted against the bill at the time.
All members of the government, including the Prime Minister, voted against it. All members of the then opposition voted for it. That's the reality. So I was a bit excited but confused when I read a release that the party of the government is calling on the government of the party to act. So, I don't claim to be the brightest person around. So if somebody can explain who's talking to who.
The National Commercial Bank says customers will now pay $30.95 to withdraw cash at their ATMs. Before, that fee was free. Withdrawals at Multilinks will now cost customers $60. Meanwhile, effective February 1, Scotiabank's customers will have to pay $25 to withdraw cash from its ATM and $60 at Multilinks. NCB is also charging $500 for international withdrawals using the NCB's Visa debit card. It will cost $312 for Scotia customers. Physical or electronic bank statements will now attract a $500 fee at NCB. Balance inquiries will also cost $296.14 per account. Mr. Jackson argues that the banks have been making billions from the public and proposed a minimum service package for customers. Of note, NCB is providing free balance inquiry for the first 4 times each month, after which it costs $25.
Since the banks get the benefit of the deposits in their accounts, they should allow a minimum amount of transactions per month, per year, without any fees. They must be able to make deposits into their accounts without any fees or penalties. They must be able to withdraw from their accounts at their convenience without being penalized by way of a fee. They must be able to make inquiries into their accounts without a fee.
But President of the Jamaica Bankers Association, Septimus Blake, recently told the Jamaica Gleaner that local banks have suffered greatly since the onset of the pandemic. In defending the fee hikes, he said banks have had to engage in costly operations to continue services. The amendment to the Banking Services Act was retabled in the Parliament last October. Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.